Hello everyone, welcome to another video. I'm Randy, and this is another in my series where I go through each year and tell you my favorite album, my favorite song, my favorite movie, and my favorite television show from that year. I started in 1950, we're all the way up to 1965. So let's get it. Oh, and I need to remind you that I have to have a physical copy in order to pick it. And also for the television series, they are only eligible their debut season. That's about the best way I could do to keep track of it because some of them series ran pretty long. So anyway, let's get to it with my favorites from 1965. For album, my fourth runner-up is My Generation by The Who. This is a 3-record set. This is a reissue with a lot of extras, a lot of Pete Townsend demos and everything. But this is the debut album by The Who that has the iconic title song, I Hope I Die Before I Get Old and all that. It's also got the mod anthem, The Kids Are All Right, which I love, and A Legal Matter, another great tune, and The Ox. But anyway, The Who, My Generation, my fourth runner-up. And my third runner-up is Going to a Go-Go by Smokey Robinson and the Miracles. Guess I didn't show the label for the other one. Of course, they were on the Motown label. This was a reissue that came out on Record Store Day. But I think this is probably the best record they made with such hits as the title track, Ooh Baby Baby, The Tracks of My Tears, My Girl Is Gone, and other potential hits such as Choosy Beggar, In Case You Need Love. A fantastic Motown record. There were several that came out this year that I thought about picking, and then the Four Top's second album came out in '65, as well as Martha and the Vandellas' Dance Party. My second runner-up, Bob Dylan, Bringing It All Back Home. The track listing, of course, he was on Columbia. But yeah, this is a fantastic record. Dylan's turn to a more rocking musical direction is in full bloom on this album with Maggie's Farm and Outlaw Blues, but he still has the poetic songs like Love Minus Zero / No Limit, Mr. Tambourine Man, and It's All Over Now, Baby Blue, and also the oft-quoted Subterranean Homesick Blues. You don't need a weatherman to know which way the wind blows. Yeah, Bob Dylan, Bringing It All Back Home. And my first runner-up is the Beatles, Rubber Soul. Yeah, all I have is the CD on this one, but this is probably my favorite Beatles album. And a lot of years this would probably be number one, but it was a tough year in 1965. The Beatles were stretching out lyrically and musically, and I see this as a transitional album with the best of the old pop sensibilities and a hint of future experimentation. You can tell the influence of Bob Dylan and the Byrds on this album. Yeah, probably my favorite, but just didn't quite make it in 1965, Rubber Soul. My favorite album of 1965 is Highway 61 Revisited, Bob Dylan. Of course, it was on the Columbia label, just like his other one. Dylan turns up the rock a little bit more than in Bringing It All Back Home, having added guitarist Michael Bloomfield. It contains one of the most important rock tunes in Like a Rolling Stone and some of his best lyrical images, along with maybe his best melodies. 3 of my favorite Dylan songs are on here, and Like a Rolling Stone, Just Like Tom Thumb's Blues, and Ballad of a Thin Man. He also has the ending poetic masterpiece, Desolation Row. My favorite album of 1965 is Highway 61 Revisited, Bob Dylan. Before I get going on my favorite song in 1965, I will tell you that I will leave links below for the songs that I choose. Also, I'll pick a song off of each album I chose as well. And if the favorite song is also on that album, I'll choose a different one. So anyway, if that makes any sense. It probably doesn't. Anyway, So my favorite song of 1965, the fourth runner-up from The Temptations. This is a 3-record anthology, and it's the song My Girl. This is the epitome of a Motown ballad with a jaunty, fun-loving progression. It was written by Smokey Robinson and Ronald White of The Miracles, and has the great David Ruffin on vocals, also the Funk Brothers providing the instrumentation. When I think of Motown, probably My Girl is probably the first song that pops into mind. My third runner-up is It's My Own Tears That's Being Wasted by Johnny Copeland, which is on this Atlantic Blues Vocalist record. This is a great soulful blues song by the terrific blues guitarist Johnny Copeland. He would later do an album with Robert Cray and Albert Collins, with the three of them that did really well. But even though it was recorded later, he did record it later, which I found on another compilation, and it just wasn't the same. But I first discovered it on this album, and this is the 45 single version that came out in 1965. And that is the best version to hear. Like I said, he did record it later, but yeah, you need to find the 1965 version, which is on this wonderful Atlantic Blues Vocalist, or you can find the single. But anyway, I'll try to put a link below for that one. Hopefully I can get the version that's on this one here. My second runner-up is off the Bob Dylan's Highway 61 Revisited, and it's just like Tom Thumb's Blues, the next to last song on the album. Great song with this infectious melody and a bunch of literary references, such as Edgar Allan Poe, the poet Rimbaud, and Jack Kerouac. Just always loved Just Like Tom Thumb's Blues, one of my favorite Dylan tunes. And my first runner-up from Rubber Soul, and it's number 11 there, In My Life. This is probably my favorite Beatles song, and it would probably be number 1 in any other year. It features a maturation process of John Lennon as a songwriter, and also it's a song about maturation in life. But yeah, In My Life, the Beatles, my first runner-up. And you probably guessed my number 1 song, and it just leads off the album with a bang. It's from Highway 61 Revisited, and of course, it's Like a Rolling Stone. Viewed by many as maybe the most important song in rock history, and a point I wouldn't argue. It does present a new voice for rock and roll, and one where lyrical content is just as important as instrumentation. We also get Michael Bloomfield on guitar in this one, Al Cooper on Hammond organ, and an acerbic Dylan pulling no punches. This is a classic. Like a Rolling Stone, my favorite song from 1965. And before I tell you my favorite movie from 1965, I want to just reiterate that these are my favorites, not necessarily what I think is the best movie of 1965. And that includes like rewatchability, enjoyment. It's going to include some of my favorite genres in the thriller, film noir, mysteries, screwball comedy. But anyway, so even though I think this is a terrific film, like Repulsion, which I would include as one of the best films of 1965, it doesn't make my favorites, maybe because of rewatchability, I think. But anyway, so that's kind of where it is on that. For my favorite movie of 1965, the fourth runner-up, it is kind of a thriller mystery, and it's Bunny Lake is Missing, directed by Otto Preminger. Fine psychological thriller from Otto Preminger, where the police are notified about the disappearance of a young woman's child, but Laurence Olivier, who plays the police superintendent, starts to wonder if the child ever existed. Wonderful black and white photography, great performance by Carol Lindley as the mother, and just enough conspiracy elements. Great mystery. Bunny Lake is Missing. My third runner-up Thunderball, directed by Terrence Young. It's a film that has quite a few problems with there are too many underwater scenes and they are too long, but it was quite an accomplishment for the time. I love Sean Connery's interactions with Luciana Paluzzi, especially their final interaction in Connery's last line. Maybe this is his best female adversary, I don't know, but we also get Claudine Auger, and also Martine Bestwick is in this as well. And it comes in the James Bond box sets that I've showed before. There were 4 of them that came out. It has all the movies up until Daniel Craig. And my second runner-up is Mirage, directed by Edward Dmytryk. It came in this Gregory Peck box set. But yeah, while I'm not much of a conspiracy believer, I really do enjoy conspiracy movies. And this is a good mystery suspense thriller with Gregory Peck experiencing amnesia and believing he is part of a conspiracy and not knowing who to trust, filled with great character parts such as Walter Matthau as the detective he hires and Robert Harris as the psychiatrist he encounters. Also has the wonderful Diane Baker. Mirage, in one of my favorite genres. Runner-up in 1965 is The Ipcress File, directed by Sidney Furie. Michael Caine stars as Detective Harry Palmer. He'd also portray the detective, I think, in 2 other films, Funeral in Berlin and $1 Billion Brain, or something like that is the other 2. But I think this is the best one. It's kind of a unique spy thriller with Michael Caine as sort of an anti-James Bond who never tries to charm anyone. We also see all kinds of interesting camera movements and camera angles from Sidney Furie that bring 1960s London alive. It does have a Bond connection in that John Barry does the score on this one. But my favorite movie of 1965 is For a Few Dollars More, directed by Sergio Leone. This is a Kino Lorber release with a lot of extras on here. I guess this Ipcress File was also a Kino Lorber one too. But anyway, Fistful of Dollars was the one that came right before this, and I think this is a step up from that one with Clint Eastwood and Lee Van Cleef as gunfighters that form a less than trustworthy alliance to catch a Mexican outlaw. Eastwood and Van Cleef are both iconic. Eastwood has this serape, is that what that's called? Well, I can't see it there. But anyway, and this always has the cigar butt in his mouth, and Van Cleef had the pipe and that hat he wore. But Sergio Leone's direction changed the Western forever, I think, and this was the start of some amazing films. Like 3 in a row, I think. Now for my favorite television show of 1965. There are actually a few that didn't quite make the grade, but I thought I'd highlight, and one is a BBC science fiction series called Out of the Unknown. Also, the series Hank comedy, where he's like a food truck vendor that's out in front of the college campus, and then he tries to sneak into different college courses. But yeah. We also get I Spy with Bill Cosby and Robert Culp. And the Great Western with Barbara Stanwyck, The Big Valley. But now let's get to the ones that did make it. My 4th runner-up is Honey West. Capitalizing on the success of The Avengers, the U.S. market gave us Honey West, with Anne Francis portraying the private eye Honey West. She had first appeared as this character on Burke's Law. But anyway, her partner was John Erickson, and she also had a pet ocelot named Bruce. This fantastic series, Honey West, with Anne Francis. My 3rd runner-up is I Dream of Jeannie. As a kid, who didn't love Barbara Eden as Jeannie? Released from Her Bottle by Major Anthony Nelson, played by Larry Hagman. There's Larry. Of course, a lot of people know him from Dallas. This the Bewitched came out the year before, and this has a lot of similarities in that they could blink and change things and do all kinds of things. But a major highlight to me was Hayden Rourke. There he is right there as Dr. Bellows, a NASA psychologist, hell-bent on proving there was something strange going on with Major Anthony Nelson, but always coming up a little short. Yeah, I Dream of Jeannie, my third runner-up. My second runner-up is The Wild Wild West. This is a complete series. It comes in this box set. Pretty cool. Comes with the booklet, and then got a little kind of bookmark at the top, and then in these saddles there are the DVDs. Kind of looks cool, but it's not very practical, to tell you the truth. But anyway, the series starred Robert Conrad and Ross Martin. I also liked Ross Martin in Mr. Lucky, another series. But they were undercover government agents in the 1870s West. It also had some science fiction elements and was always introducing new gadgetry to the time period. They had a wide array of character actors cycle through, some in recurring roles, and some nice actresses for Conrad to romance. Do not judge the show by the movie that came out later. Yeah, watch the show. First runner-up is the Dean Martin Variety Show. This is definitely my favorite variety show, and Dean Martin was the perfect host. This was like a best of collection. There was put out like 25 volumes or something of this. I wish they would just do the whole shows, but a lot of times with musical acts, it's hard to get the rights to them. They did put out this Dean Martin Variety Show Uncut, which has like 6 or 8 episodes. I can't remember how many that have the full episodes. Maybe those are the rights they could get. But anyway, yeah, Dean Martin Variety Show had a lot of different great musical acts were on there. Also, he was very funny in that he didn't like to rehearse at all. So when he was on the show in a sketch, it was probably the first time he's ever seen the cue cards, and there were several with Bob Newhart that are really funny because you can tell Dean has messed up a bunch of times on it. But I also loved when he would sit down at the piano with Ken Lane and just kind of make up new lyrics to some of his best-known songs. They also had a door right there by the piano where they had a mystery guest that came out on every week. And of course, you get the Gold Diggers and later the Dingaling Sisters. Yeah, favorite variety show, the Dean Martin Variety Show. My favorite show of 1965 is Get Smart. This is season 1. Great comedy show with Don Adams as the bumbling agent Maxwell Smart, battling the evil organization Chaos, along with his partner Barbara Feldon, Agent 99. Part spoof, part slapstick, part screwball comedy. It set the stage for later things like Airplane and the Naked Gun franchise. So many things have stayed in my mind since seeing this series as a kid. The shoe phone, the cone of silence, Jaime, the robot agent. Another series that spawned a lackluster movie years later. Yeah, watch the series. Don't go see the movie. And that's it. Hope everyone's doing well. Please list some of your favorites down in the comment section. I always like to see those, discover new shows and new movies and albums and songs. And I'll see you in 1966.